Did you know this country is home to the world's tallest people? And no, it's not the Netherlands, Belgium, or even Denmark. Welcome to the fascinating young nation of South Sudan. Landlocked in East Africa, this country is home to 3 tribes that have really tall genes. The Nuer, the Mundari, and the tallest of all, the Dinka, with an insanely high percentage of them averaging over 6 foot, with so many closer to 7.
Hey, Shalom, brothers, Shalom. This is Brother Howard of GMS Toronto, coming back with another one. And these people, the South Sudan or the Nilotic tribes, they can actually be traced all the way back to the Bible. Their forefather, first beginning with the son of Noah, who was Ham, coming down to Mizraim, which is Ham's son, down to the Philistine, right? Now, through the Philistines, you get notable people like Goliath, who was killed by David with a sling. Now, the people that were in our land that we had to kick out were their brothers, were the Canaanites, right? And those Canaanites, along with the Philistines, were some of our top enemies. So for all you so-called black people today that thinks that every black person is your brother, no, that's not the way that it is, right? Especially not back then. You might be buddy with these so-called people today, but these people are our enemies, just like the Caucasian is our enemy, right? And these people are notably tall, right? They're notably known for their stature. Like I said, their line and their lineage can be traced all the way back to the Bible. Now, this is Isaiah chapter 14. Salakia. This is Isaiah chapter 45, verse 14, and it reads, "Thus said the Lord, the labor of Egypt and merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee in chains, and they shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee, and they shall make supplication unto thee, saying, Surely God is in thee, and there is none else, there is no God." Right? So what they're going to denounce in that time of our rulership or of our power, right? This is a future prophecy. They're going to denounce all their gods, all their idols, and best believe these people, right? These Nilotic tribes, especially the South Sudanese, they're polytheists, right? They're known for worshiping many gods, right? Even the goddess, right? Hathor, the cow god, right? They're known for worshiping those cows with the great horns, right? Which goes back to Hathor, right? Which is a mother goddess. Now, this is 1 Samuel chapter 7, verse 3, and it reads, "And Samuel spake unto all the house of Israel, saying, If you do return unto the Lord with all your hearts, then put away the strange gods of Ashtoreth from among you, and prepare your hearts, which is your mind, unto the Lord, and serve him only, he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines," right? The people that we were just looking at on the screen. And how do you serve the Lord? By keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments. Then the children of Israel did put away Balaam and Ashtoreth and served the Lord only. And Samuel said, "Gather all Israel to Mizpah, and I will pray for you unto the Lord." Now, jumping down to verse 7, it reads, "And when the Philistines heard that the children of Israel were gathered together to Mizpah, the lords of the Philistines went up against Israel. And when the children of Israel heard it, they were afraid of the Philistines," right? Because these were some big, tall men, dark skinned, right? Looking like midnight. "And the children of Israel said unto Samuel, Cease not to cry unto the Lord our power for us, that he will save us out of the hand of the Philistines, right? Because there's power in calling upon the Lord and prayer to the Lord. And Samuel took a sucking lamb and offered it for burnt offering wholly unto the Lord. And Samuel cried unto the Lord for Israel, and the Lord heard him. And guess what? We no longer have to do animal sacrifice. You know why? Because of Yahushai. Yahushai became that ultimate sacrifice. That's why you pray onto Yahushai. That's why it's Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, because Yahushai has become that middle partition or that lawyer or that go-between for Israel and Yahweh, because Yahweh is no longer speaking to the children of Israel. That's how you know you Christians are going off, because you Christians actually think that you call him Jesus. You think the Savior is God. Well, God himself is not dealing with the children of Israel because of their sins. So you have to go to the Savior. And you Christians actually think you're saved. Saved from what? You can't be saved until you're delivered. And none of us know if we're on the deliverance list. Getting dunked in a bucket of water like Denzel Washington does not mean that you're saved. Okay? It says, verse 10. Is it verse 10? Yeah. And as Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to the battle against Israel, but the Lord thundered with a great thunder on the day upon the Philistines and discomfited them. And they were smitten before Israel. And the men of Israel went out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines and smote them until they came under Bethkar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it between Mizpah and Shen and called the name of it Ebenezer, saying, Hitherto hath the Lord helped us. So the Philistines were subdued, and they came no more into the coast of Israel, and the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the day of Samuel, right? Because these South Sudanese people, right, biblically known as the Philistines, they were all up in our land, right? They controlled our land for a bit until we had to cast them out.
Any closer to 7. Now, I'm 6'2", so wherever I go, I usually feel pretty tall. But in South Sudan, I definitely don't.
Is he much taller than me?
Yeah, he's taller than you, and he's taller than me too.
Because of their crazy height, basketball is actually the main sport rather than the usual football in Africa. And they are actually pretty good. They almost beat the US at the recent Olympics. And speaking about basketball, the tallest ever player is actually from South Sudan.
Yeah, look at Manu Bol, right? This guy literally could be one of the, well, I think he is one of the sons of Goliath, that's for sure, right? If this is not Goliath, come back in the spirit, right? This is how tall these men have been, right? These men are huge, right? So could you imagine back then, especially because they're blood drinkers, right? These men will be drunk off of drinking blood, animal blood, human blood, right? So could you imagine about going to war with them back in the day? Some big, tall men like this? Shit was scary as hell. Dark as hell. Now, this is from Wikipedia, and this is the Nilotic peoples. The Nilotic peoples are people indigenous to South Sudan and the East Africa who speak the Nilotic languages. They inhabit southern Sudan and the Gambela region of Ethiopia, while also being a large minority in Kenya, Uganda, the northeastern border area of Democratic Republic of the Congo and Tanzania. The Nilotic peoples consist of the Dinka, the Nuer, right? So these are those people that we were warned against back in the day. And a lot of their places where they dwelt in Africa has been taken over by actually the Arabs. You Arabs that are claiming these different places in Africa, you're not truly from there. These people used to inhabit there until you push them out, right? You're pushing them out of lands that they were in, but that's happened all throughout history. Just like we pushed them out of the land of Israel, and then we were pushed out of the land of Israel as well. And now you people in the Gaza Strip, you're being pushed out of the land today by those 1948ers, those people that have just started their residence in the land of Israel in the 1948.
At crazy 7'7", which is about the same size as an adult giraffe's.
7'7", 7'7", and you have to understand that people are getting smaller. People were larger back then. So these people, these Philistines, they were much larger back then. They're actually smaller today than they were back then, and they're still tall, still the world's tallest people, right? And that's biblical, right? You people, your history goes back to the Bible, and you were the enemies of the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American. So isn't it funny? And that's why people who know true history, when they hear you so-called black people talking about, oh, we're all black, oh, we're from Africa, they're looking at you like you look so stupid. You look so silly, because they actually know your history. They know the things that you and them have been through. They know that you and them have been to war. They know that you and them are enemies. So to see you wanted to be them, or to see you so destroyed, they're looking at you like, oh my gosh, these are God's chosen people? No way. No way. Because look at you. You're claiming their lineage. You're claiming to be African. That's how destroyed and that's how gone you are as a people. You're so destroyed and you're so gone as a people that you're claiming the ancestry of your enemies.
I know, strange comparison, but sounds cool. When you first come to South Sudan, it's actually pretty intimidating seeing such.
You heard what he said? It's pretty intimidating. Isn't that what the same thing that we read about the Israelites? The Israelites were scared of these people, man. Of course it's intimidating. You see how dark they are? They're dark like midnight, bro. Imagine it was nighttime right now. If it was nighttime, all you will see is teeth and eyes. These people are dark as hell, man. And scary, tall and scary. You'll be, oh my gosh. And you have to understand, some of their customs goes back to blood drinking, right? Cannibalism. So these are scary people to be around. Now this is 1 Samuel chapter 17 and 1, and it reads, now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shokah, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shokah and Azekah, and in Ephes Damim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. See, these are our enemies. They weren't our friends, right? These are not our friends, and they're not our brothers, right? Completely from another tribe. We descend from Shem, they descend from Ham. And the Philistines stood on the mountain on the other side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them, right? A low place. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistine named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. Do you know how strong this guy was? This guy was strong as hell, man. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. Yo, listen to me. That's how you know this man, Goliath, was taller than anybody you've seen today. Taller than Manute Bol, taller than anybody we've seen, man. And strong. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel and said unto them, Why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants of Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. And that's how men used to do that back in the day. Men used to do that actually. A lot of times it would be two kings. Two kings would fight, right? Or two of their greatest warriors. They would choose two of their greatest warriors, and whoever won, that would be the end of that, right? It says, and the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid, just like this guy. Let's rewind what he said.
That sounds cool. When you first come to South Sudan, it's actually pretty intimidating.
Man said it's pretty intimidating. I know, you're right. Even the Israelites said that, brother. Right? It says, when Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. And David was the son of the Ephratite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, the next unto him, Abinadab, and the third, Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistines drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn and these 10 loaves, and run to camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with the keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him, who was his father. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array against army. Army against army, and David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine Goliath, of the Philistine of Goth, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have you seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that that man who killeth him, the king shall enrich him with the great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living power of Yahweh? Exactly. Like, why are you guys afraid? Do you know who our God is? We're not afraid. Why are we afraid of any of these people? Why are we afraid of Edomites? Why are we afraid of Ishmaelites? Why are we afraid of Hamites? Why are we afraid of any one of these people when we are the people of Yahweh? Exactly, man. That's how you know King David, he wasn't king yet, but you know David was in the spirit. Verse 27, and the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? And I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. And David said, what have I done? What have I now done? Is there not cause? And he turned from him toward another and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sought for him. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with the Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Saul, thy servants kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock, and went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against him, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. That's how strong David is. That's how serious David is from he was a youth. From he was a youth, killed a lion just to save one of his sheep. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living power. Exactly. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. And Saul armed David with his armor, and put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail, and David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off, and he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling, right? Like you Benjamins, like obviously King David is a Judite, right? Which is a representation of you American niggas. But Benjamin is known for that, for the sling. We call it slingshot. That's what we use, right? Was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistines. And the Philistines came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistines looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistines said unto David, am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistines cursed David by his gods. And the Philistines said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of Yahweh of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistine this day to the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God of Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. Exactly, which links up with the scripture in Daniel. And it came to pass when the Philistines arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army of the Philistines. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into the forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistines and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. Right? So these men, they are enemies. They're not our friends.
Very quickly realized these friendly giants are some of the nicest people.
Yeah, they're nice to you, but they're not nice people. These are some of our enemies, man. Right? So I wasn't even thinking that this lesson was going to go this long. I just wanted to make a quick lesson, right? Touching a little bit on some of our ancient enemies in modern times, who you so-called black people think that your ancestry goes back to, but no, we are not the same people. We are of different lineage. We are of different stock. We are of different pedigree, right? These are Hamites. These are Hamitic tribes, right? The Nilotic tribes of today, of South Sudan, right? The Dinka, the Nuer, right? These are not our people, right? So with that, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to the almighty power of Israel, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders and elder apostles of GMS that rule well and that teach well, and to the brothers on the four quarters of the earth, doing this work in truth and in sincerity, standing up strong against all the foolishness and the lies that are going forth in this world. I'd like to say shalom, and to the few sisters that are listening in silence and taking heed, shalom to you as well. Until next time, Kwame Asharala,